Чудесно, я могу теперь говорить, да? Спасибо большое.
It's great. Can I talk now?
День.
Great. I have already been said that good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to see you all. I know that a lot of parallel sessions are going on right now, so I'm very happy that you made it to this audience on the first floor, the Wright brothers. What are we going to talk about today?
Компания F6.
At the start of the year, F6 company presented its annual analytical report, let me say how it's called, Cyber Threats in Russia and the Commonwealth of States with analytics for 2024-2025. And they're saying that fraud is living through its revival, and so there are a lot of cyber threats, and it's predicted that it will touch upon different sectors, banking sectors and telecommunication sectors. The key threats are threats at the supply chains and also phishing. So I wanted to discuss the switch from reactive to proactive approach. I didn't introduce myself. My name is Zakavryazhina Yana, and I am with a company that has been an integrator for 20 years of information security. And exactly for this reason, together with my colleagues, I wanted to mention those relevant challenges that are there right now and that we are mentioning, that we're noting. Point one. Cyber threats are getting more comprehensive and more complicated. Some scanners, automated systems. It all is added with phishing, social engineering. And attacks are getting more sophisticated. They're using more complicated bypass methods. They're bypassing security systems. For instance, they're using updated Trojans of remote access and dynamic techniques such as fast flags. Traditional methods in this case are responding to what has already happened, to the actual incidents. They cannot show a good and efficient result in terms of detection of multi-layer attacks in a large amount of data, and false alerts overload the analysts of SOC, and it may impact the efficiency of investigations. And again, in case if, not just in case if, but there are SLAs, and in this case we're talking about theft of time. This is what's important in SLAs. The next point is attacks on digital identification data, on credentials. What's very popular here, particularly in Telegram channels, is that fraudsters or criminals are using voice recordings, video calls in order to fear employees, in order to scare them. They play as a manager or as a general manager or as a CEO. It happened with us, by the way, once. And they force an employee to hand over confidential information, some commercial sensitive information, maybe to send. A life story. One of these days, I was taking part in a forum of IB Consortium, and I got acquainted with a back hunter, and he was sharing that in their work, they're often using synthetic artificial voice messages, AI-generated voice messages, in order to mimic managers, online managers, and this way they put pressure on employees and they force to provide confidential information. And he says that it's very efficient right now. It's so easy these days. People are really willing to cooperate in case if a manager, for instance, reaches out and says, "This is my phone number, please provide this and this information to me." And he told me that they did a check in one of the companies, and he said that out of 20 people who they tried, 18 believed this fraud, and they transferred sensitive information. Also, the extortionist software, extortionist malware in early 2025, criminals attacked a contractor of Rostelecom As a result of which, criminals were using AI, and as a result, they got access to data, more than 120,000 users. It's not that many on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's an attempt to rapidly get access to this information. So they just blocked these accounts, and they did not unlock information until a certain payment would be made. Also, these attacks were on Rosotorg and on Airflood. It also happened this year, and it used malware and vulnerabilities in supply chain system. What I mentioned previously, reactive threat monitoring has blind spots, so to speak. The reaction happens only once the incident has already happened. So what I wanted to mention, what are the other weak spots? First of all, multi-layer attacks. They are comprehensive and complicated schemas. Cyber criminals are using a few methods, a few vectors to achieve their goals. And what we mean here is detection of these attacks requires a deep analysis of the network traffic and user behavior in order to have the whole picture of what usually happens in the infrastructure. And traditional detection methods are failing here because they're not that efficient in detecting in big data in a huge amount of data. Wide technology of new technologies. What do I mean here? Using PowerShell, WMI, and using phishing emails that were created with the help of generative Gen AI. So these are. It's very difficult to tell whether it's real or false. I guess in every company there are examples when you kind of receive similar domain, but actually just one letter was substituted there. And it's critically important aspect. Another critical aspect is the response. What I mean here is detection and response happens only once the incident happens. And there's not always enough time to analyze or to respond well or to take action because the attack, on the one hand, it may be happening for a long time and in a very concise manner, for years maybe, or sometimes the attack takes just a few minutes. And false alerts lead to human factor. So people just start getting nervous. If we talk about first-line operators, sometimes they may not understand what they need to do, how to respond. It also plays an important role. A little bit of regret here. It's logical to switch from reactive approach to proactive monitoring of threats. What will allow to do? By 30 or 40%, 30 to 50%, you will improve the security thanks to the fact that you detect it at an early stage. It's prevention, and you will reduce the response time by 1.5 times. What are the steps that need to be taken? Let's begin with audit and pin test of the current stage. We need to understand where we are now, what is the as-is state. Then you need to develop the response process. Then you need to introduce technologies. With the help of machine learning, these technologies will be able to reflect the whole picture of infrastructure, and they will be able to tell the strategy of threat detection. And thanks to an ongoing analysis, you can improve processes that are currently available in order to improve them, and you can use external sources of information in order to update data about threats and about cyber criminals. Actually, we can say that this is not a significant amount, and it will cover, at the same time, it will cover your security. It will improve your security. GAS Inform service, this is the company that I work for, may be useful in a few areas out of what I have just mentioned. In order to switch from reactive to proactive monitoring. We can help develop the response modes, and we can equip you with UEBA technologies. My job as a product manager is to convey the opportunities of SIEM analysis or other technologies, or maybe it's a DLP system that is used in infrastructure. Thanks to this, it will be clear that, for instance, maybe it's a complicated attack, or maybe the user got access to sensitive data in some strange time, and we may assume that it's an insider or that the user has been compromised or credentials have been compromised. Also, when people are working remotely, it's very popular these days. People work remotely. Or that APT cyber criminal group is working there. It can be detected, and it all will help you automate the response processes, and it will help you reduce the response time. To sum it up, I wanted to say that the reactive approach is like an emergency truck, emergency service truck. Emergency service truck is needed when the crash has already happened or the incident has already happened, and needs to respond in the here and now. So the incident is already in the past. And proactive approach is an autonomous car such as Tesla, which you can find in Moscow. It's going in Moscow, and it predicts what will happen on the road. They can understand how to respond to what's going on. This car can use a lot of settings that it has, so it can foresee, it can guess right what's going to happen, and this way it reflects the proactive approach. As I said, I'm with GAS Inform service company. It can be useful to you in a lot of areas, including the UEBA product class. It's NKS SAP, and also we have a monitoring center which can help you in the equivalent of L's third line. I'm ready to give you more details at our stand GAS Inform service. It's on the second floor, one floor higher from this floor. Also, I wanted to mention that we have a promo for GSOC. It's 5 to 5. It doesn't relate to Pitorочка chain of grocery stores. Colleagues, I'm ready to take your questions in case if you have some current cases that are aligned with what I have just mentioned. I would be really interested to hear them. Yes, please.
Очень быстро, да?
Добрый день, спасибо за ваш доклад.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was interesting. I have a question. When we're talking about threats, it's clear you need to switch to a proactive response, but I think the job of SOC is not only to respond to phishing or external intruders, brood. We also need to watch, monitor the internal intruders as well, internal violations. As a result of internal violations, we may have another ways to be attacked or other vulnerabilities. So how can we enable proactive monitoring of internal policy breaches by our normal users, not IT people, but normal users, though they are not knowledgeable about this? So how will the concept change of monitoring of internal users? Thank you for the question. Once again, it happens thanks to behavior analysis. The class of solutions is monitoring not only external people, but also internal users. It can highlight some moments such as an employee very often does this and this. For instance, when I was preparing, I would always work at night. And at any other point in time, I would always have alerts. And it's great. It's the correlation rule that's written in SIEM, that employees are working 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. But in this case, information will be highlighted. Like this person usually works at night, and it's normal for these people. Maybe for some group of users, it would be good to adjust the correlation rule. So synergy allows to give hints to adjust so that later you can introduce adjustments to the rules, to security policies that are already available in the company. So it's thanks to synergies with different systems that are already being used. It's an instrument to help SOC.
Он обучается, то есть основная суть, так как это поведенческий анализ,
It is trained.
ни одна система.
Since this is a behavior analysis, no other system can understand how we work and how our work process is built. So ideally, it needs some time to monitor first. For us, we would take 1 month to 3 months. Why do we need this? Because we need to understand whether employees have a seasonal work, maybe at the start of the year they start getting ready to different meetings and pulling reports. And during the other quarters of the year, we have another work mode, more standard one, so that the system understands that there's seasonality. It gets trained on retrospective data. Ideally, it takes 90 days to learn, to get trained on this. The training will be done both on users and entities, on every ARM, right? Yes, on every analysis object, we will have a baseline. Inside the product, there are a few analyzers. First, it gets trained for a certain time, then it creates a baseline for every entity and every user. In the web interface, you can analyze. For instance, there's a current profile, and here's the normal behavior of the user. Like, you can pay attention to this behavior, but it's not critical. And there's abnormal behavior, which is beyond the normal range, and as a result there will be alerts, and it will be handed over to the response system. So it's automated, right? Or is it just prompts? No, it's automated. Also, there's a notification center. You get notifications by email. In case if necessary, you can add notifications by SMS messages to first-line operators or to the officers. Thank you to the question. Any more questions? All right, Alex, then you're most welcome at Gazinform Service stand, and I will tell you there about our 5.5 promo.